During the 14th century BC, ancient Egypt experienced a seismic shift, one that rattled its very soul. At the heart of this religious and cultural revolution stood Pharaoh Akhenaten and his strikingly powerful queen, Nefertiti. Known for her unforgettable limestone bust that still captivates the world today, Nefertiti wasn't just a queen, she was a force of nature. She rose from royal consort to co-ruler and eventually may have ruled Egypt in her own right. Born around 1370 BC, Nefertiti's origins remain one of ancient Egypt's most tantalizing mysteries. One theory claims she was the daughter of Ai, a powerful advisor who later ascended to the throne after Tutankhamun. But there's a catch. Ai and his wife Te were never officially called her parents. In fact, Te is only referred to as Nefertiti's nurse, a strange title if she truly were her mother. Another theory suggests Nefertiti was the daughter of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, making her the full sister of Akhenaten. Yet none of Nefertiti's many titles include the traditional ones given to a royal daughter, which casts doubt on that theory as well. A more recent and intriguing theory connects Nefertiti to a foreign princess named Tadukipa of Mitanni. Tadukipa was once married to Amenhotep III before possibly being wed to his son. Supporters of this idea point to the meaning of Nefertiti's name, "The beautiful woman has come," as possible evidence of her foreign origin. Nefertiti married Prince Amenhotep IV when she was just 15, years before he became Akhenaten and launched his bold, controversial religious experiment worshipping the sun disk, Aten. Though Akhenaten had other wives, records suggest his bond with Nefertiti was special, deep, personal, and politically powerful. Together they had 6 daughters: Meritaten, Meketaten, Ankhesenamun, Neferneferuaten, Tasherit, Neferneferure, and Setapenre. Nefertiti wasn't just a royal figurehead. She bore an array of titles that spoke to her immense influence: Hereditary Princess, Great of Praises, Lady of Grace, Sweet of Love, Lady of the Two Lands, Great King's Wife, Lady of All Women, and most impressively, High Priestess of Aten. In an age defined by divine kingship and patriarchal rule, Nefertiti wasn't merely beside the throne, she sat upon it. Akhenaten and Nefertiti weren't just royal rulers, they were revolutionaries. Together, they led one of the most dramatic religious overhauls in ancient Egyptian history, shaking the foundations of a civilization that had worshipped a vast pantheon of gods for centuries. Their radical vision? To abandon all the traditional deities in favor of a single god: Aten. Aten was not entirely new to the Egyptian spiritual landscape. Originally seen as a form of the sun god Ra, Aten was represented as a radiant solar disk, its beams ending in tiny human hands that reached down from the sky. The most famous depiction of this is the Stele of Akhenaten, which shows the royal family being lovingly touched by Aten's life-giving rays. Although previous rulers like Amenhotep III and Queen Tiye had shown preference for Aten, it was under Akhenaten and Nefertiti that this reverence turned into religious revolution. They took devotion to Aten to a level never seen before, declaring him not just supreme, but the only god worthy of worship. Nefertiti played a central, visible role in this transformation. Far from being a background figure, she shared the stage with Akhenaten in nearly every aspect of rule. More than any queen before her, she appears frequently in royal art, offering prayers, leading ceremonies, riding chariots, and even striking down enemies. These weren't mere symbolic portrayals, they reflected real political and spiritual power. Nefertiti's image was carefully crafted to reflect both divine femininity and commanding strength. Artists emphasized her curvaceous form, linking her to fertility and motherhood, while her 6 daughters were prominently featured in royal imagery. She even created her own distinctive crown, a tall, flat-topped blue headdress believed to be a feminine counterpart to the traditional Keprish war crown worn by great pharaohs like Thutmose III. By the 9th year of their reign, Akhenaten and Nefertiti had gone all in. Aten wasn't just the main god, he was the only god. They banned the worship of other deities, ordered the destruction of temples dedicated to Amun, and had sacred images defaced or erased. In one sweeping move, the ancient priesthood was stripped of its power. Akhenaten and Nefertiti declared themselves the sole messengers of Aten, placing themselves at the center of divine communication. Unsurprisingly, the nobility and religious elites saw this as a dangerous disruption. The shift to monotheism threatened centuries of tradition and power structures. While many outwardly complied with the reforms, resistance simmered beneath the surface. Priests of Amun quietly hid sacred texts and idols, preserving the old religion in secret from the watchful eyes of the pharaoh and his queen. As Akhenaten's reign drew to a close, his beliefs became even more radical. He and Nefertiti declared themselves not just divine rulers, but living gods. They demanded to be worshipped alongside Aten, placing themselves at the very center of Egypt's spiritual life. And when Akhenaten died, Nefertiti didn't fade into the background. Instead, she stepped fully into the spotlight. She took on a new name, Neferuaten, meaning beautiful is the beauty of Aten, and assumed the role of sole pharaoh, an astonishing move in a world where women rarely held such power. Some historians even believe she may have ruled under the male identity of Smenkhkare, disguising her reign to preserve legitimacy in the eyes of the people. At the height of her power, Nefertiti became not just Egypt's ruler, but arguably the most powerful woman in the world. She was only the second female pharaoh of the New Kingdom after the legendary Hatshepsut, and one of just 7 women to ever wear the double crown across all of Egypt's 3,000-year history. But her rule was not without danger. After Akhenaten's death, the throne should have passed to his young son, Tutankhamun, just 9 years old at the time. Reluctant to hand over power, Nefertiti made an astonishing move. She reached out to Suppiluliuma I, king of the Hittites, and pleaded for him to send one of his sons to marry her. In a letter preserved in the Hittite royal archives, she wrote, "My husband has died, and I have no son. They say about you that you have many sons. You might give me one of your sons to become my husband. I would not wish to take one of my subjects as a husband, I am afraid." This was unheard of. Egyptian royal women never married foreign royalty. The desperation in her words shocked even the Hittite court. Nevertheless, the king agreed and sent Prince Zananza to Egypt, but the wedding never happened. Zananza was assassinated on the journey, likely by factions within Egypt's elite who saw the proposed marriage as treason. Shortly after, Nefertiti vanished from the historical record. Whether she was murdered, overthrown, or quietly stepped down remains one of Egypt's great unsolved mysteries. What we do know is that the young Tutankhamun took the throne and, under the guidance of his advisors, quickly abandoned Atenism. He restored the old gods, returned the capital from Amarna to Thebes, and set about erasing his parents' legacy. In the years that followed, Egypt tried to bury Akhenaten and Nefertiti's memory. Temples they built were torn down. Their names were chiseled out. Later rulers, especially Horemheb, used their monuments as rubble for new construction. But history has a sense of irony. While their enemies have faded into oblivion, Akhenaten and Nefertiti remain 2 of the most famous names in all of ancient Egypt. Their legend only grew in 1912, when a German archaeological team led by Ludwig Borchardt made a stunning discovery. In the ruins of a sculptor's workshop in Amarna, they unearthed a limestone bust of Nefertiti, graceful, elegant, and hauntingly lifelike. When it was first displayed in Berlin in the 1920s, the world was mesmerized. The bust became a symbol of ancient beauty and power, and Nefertiti, once nearly erased from history, was suddenly immortalized as one of the most iconic women of the ancient world. Even long after her death, Queen Nefertiti continued to captivate and even spark controversy across the world. When her breathtaking bust was unearthed in 1912, it didn't just mesmerize archaeologists, it also caught the attention of Adolf Hitler. The German dictator was obsessed with the sculpture. He once called it a unique masterpiece, an ornament, a true treasure. Hitler's admiration ran so deep that when his deputy Hermann Göring suggested returning the bust to Egypt as a diplomatic gesture, Hitler flat out refused. "I will never relinquish the head of the Queen," he declared. As World War II tore through Europe and Allied bombs rained down on Berlin, the bust was secretly hidden away in a salt mine to protect it from destruction. Near the end of the war, American soldiers stumbled upon the buried treasure. After the war, Egypt pleaded with the U.S. to return the bust to its homeland. But instead of honoring the request, officials told Egypt to take it up with the new German government. To this day, the iconic sculpture remains in Berlin's Neues Museum, where it had originally been displayed before the war. It continues to draw millions of visitors, each one captivated by Nefertiti's serene beauty and commanding presence. And yet, despite all we've uncovered about her, one final mystery still lingers: the location of Nefertiti's tomb. Egyptologists believe it may be hidden somewhere near the Valley of the Kings, possibly even in a sealed chamber adjacent to Tutankhamun's tomb. If it's ever found, it could be the most important discovery since Howard Carter's legendary find in 1922. Over 3,000 years after her reign, Nefertiti remains one of the most powerful and enigmatic figures in ancient history, a queen whose beauty, brilliance, and ambition continue to echo through the ages. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a new video. Want to wear history on your sleeve? Check out our official History Explained merch store below. Support the channel on Patreon to help us keep these stories alive. Thanks for watching.